Why can't they name him? Lucas, who is supposed to be his best friend, and they still everybody refers to him as that man. It's so fucking dumb. It is so dumb. And unbelievably dumb. And that's like one of the worst things about these past two chapters. Like, you gotta love shooting God back love
a 10 out of you, don't you grab it. This video is brought to you by T-Blocks. Enjoy the content now, but stay for the shilling later. Alright, welcome to Lobster Magnet Friends. I'm here with my buddy Goro Gregoro.
Hey, what's up?
And we are here to talk about the last two chapters of The Promised Neverland. Unfortunately, Zavul wasn't able to be here, but we decided that we wanted to give you our thoughts without him. Sadly, maybe we'll get him another time while we're in our defunct, not fully operational state. So, Goro, What do you think of these past two chapters of Promised Neverland?
Well, there are some good things, like Norman. I liked Norman was still alive. Norman is a really great character. But there was some bad stuff that I did not like about these most recent chapters.
What was your bad stuff? Because I really enjoyed these chapters.
You remember when Emma is like talking to the kids and like, do you know how to take out these demons?
Yeah.
And the kids are like, yes, we do.
Well, wasn't that implied? But they had that scene where they show Lucas disseminating the information. So sort of the implication was that like Emma told them, how to shoot their weak spot, and whatchamacallit, they didn't know it before, but now they do thanks to her.
No, it was thanks to Lucas.
Yeah, because Lucas told them from what assumingly Emma told him.
Oh, you're saying this is all new information now?
The impression I got is that like these kids couldn't kill the demons because the demons have incredible regeneration power, and they didn't know like how to shoot them in the middle of their face.
But then, okay, how did Rufio know where to kill him?
From experience,
how come Lucas didn't know it?
I don't know. Maybe Lucas did tell them. So your complaint is that you feel with this knowledge the kids should have been able to kill the demons earlier.
Yes, or like fight the demons earlier.
Well, that's the big thing, because right now it feels like the humans have the huge advantage. So I'm rooting for the demons to like do something and feel more badass.
Mm-hmm.
Which we'll have to wait and see. That for me isn't a flaw, because here's my big theory of why I enjoyed these past few chapters.
Mm-hmm.
I think Promised Neverland works much better as a sci-fi series than a fantasy series.
What do you mean by that?
Because think about it. When we were first introduced, we saw Emma taking all these huge tests in these like scientific, all the kids are taking these scientific tests. So we assumed, mm-hmm. and we know it's like the year 2040, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we assume that this is like a post-apocalyptic scenario where, the demons are like aliens or extra-dimensional creatures that have come to Earth, killed everyone, and now they're like harvesting the children for their food, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we assume that this is like a sci-fi story, but then we get the backstory and we learn, oh no, this is actually a fantasy story because like if you go back to ancient times, the demons and the humans were fighting together with spears and knives, and the demons have always been here. They've always been a part of this world. But now we're kind of shifting more towards back to a sci-fi setting. With the introduction of Norman, because I really love the reintroduction of Norman. I love it that he's in this weird fucking lab. I love it that the demons are like doing this like genetic experimentation to like create muscle kids. They're basically like doing like GMO testing to like make more tasty kids. So they've got like these like freakish kids with like huge brains, because obviously they like the brains, and then they have like the freakish muscle kids.
I don't think we even really know like what exactly is going on in there. Like it looks like a whole mishmash of like there's the muscly kids, there's the kids with the huge brains, like there's like a lot of like really strange abnormal kids there.
Yeah, well,
And
my theory,
but Norman, why is Norman even there in the first
well, because
place?
they're probably they want to like clone him and figure out how they can like mass produce Norman grade kids for everyone.
And
Because
I guess
if Norman is like the tastiest, smartest, most delicate meat, he's like the top of the top of the line. If you can figure out a way to like clone Normans and make plenty more of him, then wouldn't you? Wouldn't you want to?
I mean, I suppose it's like it's like finding like a golden egg and then wanting to make more golden eggs, I suppose. Yeah. Uh, but then, but if you, I could see like just Norman there, but then you have the other like abnormal kids, which doesn't make much sense
Well,
yet.
well, not yet, but like I said, my theory is that like they're doing genetic experimentation because they want to produce tasty kids. So they got like
Yeah.
kids that focus on muscle, and like just like how we throw in growth hormones to like cows and chickens and shit to like make them grotesquely overly muscled so they can make more money off of them.
That makes sense, but they are still just eating the brains. Like
Well, I think from what I'm seeing is that like they like all parts of humans. They like the flesh. I guess the brain is like considered to be a really big delicacy, kind of like how we like goose livers and shit, and we like force feed goose livers like food so we can have pate.
guess, but
So
it's always been like they've always been developing the brains more so than anything else. I feel like I don't know, maybe. Um, so yeah, there's something else that also bothered me about this chapter. Just
the most recent one and the one from last week because I love the one from last week.
the one from last week was just Norman in the factory, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, it was Norman, and they introduced that he was like adopted by the Peter guy, and I'm hoping Peter
yeah,
becomes a really good villain. I'm rooting for Peter.
yeah. I mean, I'm really happy Norman's back. I think like he's a character we were really missing in the series. Like he was like one of the big reasons I think like why the series was started off so strongly.
Yeah,
Um,
we definitely like. I do like the sort of like symmetry that we have like basically the three main cast members are all in different locations, and now we're kind of rooting for them to come back. And
yeah,
I feels like this was like the best way to reintroduce him, and I like the justification in terms of what he saw and how he was like met this Peter guy, and now he's in this like weird techno science future sector where like humans are like I'm really interested about this family, the William Minerva family, that's like responsible for upholding the promise and why they feel like it's so important to like keep these cattle children and keeping the peace. Why are they afraid of the humans, or why are they afraid of the demons?
yeah. What do you think about like you said this is the best way to reintroduce Norman? Like um, we talked about before like how other ways we wanted to reintroduce Norman as well, right?
Well,
Like
true. There's like one
him
way.
hunting the other kids like out and
I did love
helping.
that. I did love that idea where he was like an evil demon, and then he eats the brain, and then the demon gains sentience, and then there's like evil Norman demon who's hunting the other kids.
Yeah,
I just hope that once he's all three of them are united, we can go back to edgy Ray. I miss edgy Ray, and I think like Ray being softened because of the lack of Norman, hurt the series a lot.
um, yeah, I suppose it's like it's almost like a necessary evil to happen, like because Ray got this new sense of hope, after Emma told all the kids and said she wanted to rescue everyone. Ray thought that he can only rescue a few and then let the others die. Um, and yeah, uh, this is but like after they escaped Gracefield, I think, and after they got chased by the demons, and And once they met Musica and Sanju, I think Sanju and Musica was like one of the worst things.
Yeah,
that
I
could happen in the series.
100% agree, and I think the reason why we all hate, well, you and me and Zav will hate Songju and Musica so much is the fact that they turned the series from science fiction into fantasy, and every addition they made to the series was stupid, and Musica's dumb. It doesn't make sense why.
Musica's design was like dumb.
It's a really bad design. It flies in the face with everything else we've seen from the demons, and there's like no explanation as to why she's human, and any explanation unless
She's
there's
like she's Moe demon.
yeah, the Moe
there shouldn't be a Moe demon.
There shouldn't be a goddamn Moe demon. Yeah, Musica and Songju, I hope they die. They are as bad to the series as Endurance Guy and Primate Guy were to Dr. Stone.
Yeah. And then like the series got like kind of lost, like where it's like there's like mystery after mystery, like
what are the seven walls?
Yeah.
What are blah blah blah?
Where does this mysterious old-fashioned elevator lead to? Oh, what about this golden phone? That's calling.
Oh, you want to hear something really funny?
What?
If you notice, there's a color page in this week's chapter, and apparently there was a popularity poll, and the top 5 characters are, of course, Emma, Ray, Phil. Emma, Ray, Norman, which of course makes sense. Phil is on there, and then apparently Rufio is also there as well.
That man.
I'm calling him Rufio.
Okay,
I lost.
Okay. And here's another thing that doesn't make any sense. Why do they still call him that man? Why haven't they named it that? That annoys me so much. You have no idea. This is like stupid. Why can't they name him? Lucas, who is supposed to be his best friend, and everybody refers to him as that man. It's so fucking dumb. It is so dumb. And unbelievably dumb. And that's like one of the worst things about these past 2 chapters. I mean, I guess that was last chapter then, right?
Yeah, I think they had a that man in this chapter, maybe. But, no, I'm not going to die.
Come on, name the guy! Name the guy! Jesus Christ! Name him! There's absolutely no logical reason for them to keep calling him that man. Like, maybe from a writing sense, it makes somewhat sense to keep him like mysterious.
Well,
don't call him that man. With the dialogue, just say, we can't talk about him. I mean, or something like bullshit like that. I don't know. We don't want to talk about him.
I'll give you that. Having him remain as that man is kind of dumb and bullshitty.
It ruined last chapter for me. Like, along with the other thing where it's like, oh, why were you like, if you knew how to shoot what the weak points were, like, why did you let so many other kids die and wait until like the last minute?
They needed to collect information. Well, here's the make it or break it thing. Like, I'm generally more positive. I like the series, the direction it's going in. I enjoy these past 2 chapters. What's going to make or break the series is this next sequence in terms of, like, the kids fighting back against the demons. Because, 1, the demons need to be shown as, like, a threat, and the kid's plan needs to feel smart and clever.
Yeah.
Because, like, one of the lazy points of this chapter that I was really disappointed about was the fact that where they just, like, talked about, like, Lucas's group fighting against the demons. And, like, they said, oh, wow, they did a really good job. They didn't lose anyone. They held the line for such a long time until Archibald Lewis came in. And I was kind of like, this is lazy writing. Give me a good flashback to show, like, what they're doing. Show me that fight. Don't talk about in broad specifics. I'd like a chapter or 2 of flashbackness to, like, build up Lewis. Like, I'm on the Lewis hype train. I want to love Lewis. I am, like, completely ready.
We need a few more specifics of, like, how come their plan was smart? How come Lewis was, like, so clever.
Yeah,
And like
exactly. Don't
so
just like talk in broad things. Oh, he ruined every bit of the plan. Like give me details. Show me you like put some thought into this. Because
yeah.
like I want a well thought out plan, and that in writing, like I certainly believe I'm more of the bigger picture guy. I think it's more important to like have a plan from getting to A and B, because sometimes if you get too obsessed with the minutia of like what's the right word to describe this, then you just don't get anything done. But at the same time, though, like even if like it's Tom Cruise beats the bad guys in Mission Impossible, we all know this is gonna happen. Rey's gonna beat Kylo Ren in Star Wars, because that's what always happens in fucking Star Wars movies.
Don't you mean Ray is gonna beat that man?
Rey's gonna beat that man. But the mechanics of how they earn those victories and the story beats of they do this and then they do that and they need to do blah 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 blah, are what ultimately defines these stories.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and it does feel like there's a lot of like sort of lazy writing in general specifics when I wouldn't have minded a flashback to build up Lewis. So
Yeah.
the next chapter when
I
we see
wouldn't have mind if they just dropped that man name. If they just would have dropped his name already. Just
well, maybe there's like a big cathartic moment where like that that Rufio makes it into the place at like a dire moment. And everyone's about to die, and then Lucas looks up to him and says, "Charles, you made it!" Just as he dies, and then like Rufio goes into Super Saiyan mode or whatever.
And the fact that Lucas, after Emma still talked to Lucas about that man,
that she couldn't get him to give.
Lobster, have you ever had a whole conversation with somebody about a friend of yours without mentioning their name? Like,
well, I have had
a friend as that man. Before?
I have had awkward places where I don't know someone's name. That guy, blah blah blah, but that's usually because I forgot the name.
Yeah, but Lucas would not forget someone like that's name.
Yeah.
They were friends in the plantation, and they survived and
they were co-leaders
together.
And they were best buddies. Yeah. Lucas should definitely tell them what the name is. I'll give you that. That is kind of bullshitty.
It's like one of the most annoying things about the series right now for me, because it just I can sort of understand why they want to keep it mysterious, because like they want it to be a dramatic name drop, but like, come on, there's like no logical reason to do it.
Yeah, it does feel like they're jumping over a lot of hoops to like keep it secret. What is his name?
Just say the characters shouldn't even. There should be like a good excuse why. There should be a much better excuse why the characters can't mention his name. Like a much better excuse.
If you say his name, he goes Super Saiyan.
Even if they said something like, "I don't want to even talk about him," that would be completely fine. That'd be completely fine for me. But the fact that they just keep on referring to him as that man, oh my god, it drives me so crazy.
I will give you that. That is stupid. It doesn't bug me as much as you, but I do think there is no narrative reason not to give him a name.
Yeah.
Well, here's a question. What do you think of Emma's redesign, where she's got like the lane beads?
Oh, I did notice that.
I wish we had Zavil here. I wanted to hear his opinion, where she's got that.
She has like some kind of like braid to cover up her cut ear.
Oh, is that what it is? Because I thought when I saw it was like this sort of braid in her hair, and it reminds me of like the braid you see it in anime and manga a lot, but like the most prominent example is like Lane has that braid. You remember Serial Experiments Lane?
Yeah. Oh man. Okay, yeah, I remember that, but I think it's mainly just so cover up her cut ear.
Maybe. I don't know. I'll have to look at it again. But I thought it was interesting that we would, that they'd mess with her iconic hair.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. It's fine visual choice. If it can get the artist to remember which ear is cut off, then
Yeah.
I'll be
We've had a
happy.
few times where like Emma's had her ears back.
Oh yeah, it was like very beginning. The artist like drew in the ear again, or had it on the wrong side of her face.
Yeah. There's a few little mistakes that I assume will probably be touched up when the volume gets released, and that does happen a lot sometimes where they'll like have shitty art for the published release just to meet the deadline, but then they'll like touch it up when they do the manga volume.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
So I would give last week's chapter a 9, and I'd give the most recent chapter an 8.
So last week was Norman's introduction, right?
Last week was the reintroduction of Norman. I really liked that chapter. It got me like excited about the series. I love all the like deformed children who are being bred for like different market consumption. And I'm also like the reintroduction of Norman. I like the introduction of Peter. I hope he becomes a good villain.
Yeah. Well, I'm not as optimistic about these last two chapters, but I mean Norman is always good. The Norman chapter last week was I'd give it is like 7.5.
Oh,
7.5.
why? Why? Just because they did that name? The Norman chapter was great. Fuck you.
I mean, it's kind of like a shining beacon in like a pile of like crap so far.
Fuck you. These past few chapters have been pretty good. I feel like we're on an upswing. I wish we had Zaffel here. I'm kind of curious to see where he falls in that fence.
Yeah, I bet Zaffel probably thinks the same lines as you do, but I'm a little bit more negative when it comes to Promised Neverland right now. It's like my hopes and dreams for the series are getting a little bit dashed when we met up with the U917 kids.
U19 kids.
Yeah.
I don't know. They haven't given me a reason to hate them.
The hip teenagers who think they know what they're doing. They're like, yeah, we're going to beat those demons. Yeah.
I'll give you this.
Have like kooky little style choices.
I'm ring guy. I'm girl who has like lots of stuff all over me. I'm quirky dream girl. I'm brooding Asian girl with a scarf and boobs.
These are like character designs you see like in the Zodiacs for the Hunter Hunters.
Honestly, they really do feel like they came out of U19. Like so far, they haven't done anything to make me hate them, but they are the U19 kids.
I just kind of have a general dislike for them.
I think it's interesting that they're older kids. Like for all we knew, like originally that we thought like all the kids weren't allowed to become teenagers because they'd get eaten off earlier. But now we're seeing this like whole segment of teenage characters, and that to me is interesting, given the fact that like Emma, Ray, and they're supposed to be like 11 years old.
Yeah, that's true. But and then this week's chapter, I have to give it like a 6.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Like, how many, like, do we need to go back to fucking, like, watching Black Clover to remind you what true mediocrity is?
I don't know, it's just like, there's so many things, there's just that man thing has bothered me to no end. It's one of the worst things about the series right now, honestly.
I will agree. I will not defend it. It is dumb, but I don't hate it as much as Musica.
And Musica, the more I think about Musica, that Musica is dumb too.
Well, good thing Musica's gone from the series, and it doesn't look like we're going to see her again. Hopefully.
The Moe demon should never have existed.
No. I 100% agreement. God, I wonder if they could ever like come up with a good explanation for her, but I can't see one.
I mean, she could have been. There could have been a feminine demon, but I don't think they don't have to make her like Moe.
No,
they can't. They shouldn't make her anime cute.
No, 100% agreement on that. She should never be anime cute. She's a terrible character. All right, so those are our thoughts. Me and Goro are in a civil war in our opinion about this. Right now, we're Promise Neverland are. Which side do you on? Let us know in the comments below. Are you on Team Lobster or Team Goro as we continue to fight over the future of this series? Our promised star. Because Dr. Stone and Promise Neverland are the two upstarts. They're like, I even saw like a ad from like Viz Media for Promise Neverland on my Facebook feed that was promoted at feed, and they said, Emma, you do the big three proud.
Emma, you do the big three proud. Wow. Maybe in the first story arc, but not in these later.
But it just goes to show that they feel like they've got a winner on their hands and something that's going to, and it's interesting that we have this new era, although, I don't know, Shokeki no Soma, I saw this video about how much it was selling really well. There's this video where this guy was talking about how manga outsells American comics, and that if you look at the sales of Japan, that, like, even if you could say the sales in America aren't great, like, the top 10 manga all have, like, millions sold, while at best an American comic in a month will only get like 100,000.
Well, it's funny like that because I think manga is more generally accepted in their culture than comics that are in America.
Yeah, that is true. It's like, if some guy's like reading a manga on a train, it's like no one bats an eye. While in America, if like some guy like pulls out a Superman comic from, a comic book store, people are like, oh, you touch those? It's weird because it definitely does feel like it's more stigmatized here because, the comics have been taken away from newsstands and now they're in these like, little ghettos of like specialty shops.
Yeah, we went to a panel about this before where like there's a manga for, there's manga for kids or manga for adults. There's manga for like learning how to cook. There's manga learning how to dance.
There's salaryman manga. There's just like a much more wider variety of like material that that's covered in it versus superhero. All we have are like superhero comics and like indie comics and licensed comics based on like old TV shows.
And there's a manga about how to get your bird to stop squawking.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to wash him because he's definitely like squawking really loudly. I'm gonna wash him up and that'll get him to quiet down.
Yeah, the fear of water probably.
Nah, he loves water. It just really soothes him, and then he's like, oh, I'm wet. All right, so those are our thoughts. Please let us know in the Civil War. That's going to be the theme for the next few of these videos. The Goro Lobster Magnet Civil War. Bum, ba-da-dum, bum, bum,
even better than the Marvel Universe Civil War.
That's the Avengers theme. I don't think if Civil War had a theme, I don't remember what it was, but you get the idea. So who's winning the Civil War will ultimately be chosen by you in the comments. All right, so thank you for hanging out with us. Remember, lobsters and tennis, but don't you grab it. Do you like clothes but hate shopping? Then T-Blocks is the subscription service for you. But I know what you're thinking. But Lobster, how is that any different than Loot Crate or the other subscription services? Well, T-Block sends you t-shirts, which is clothing, which is actually useful, unlike the useless swag junk that Loot Crate keeps peddling on gullible schmucks. And this isn't just knockoff brand crap. T-Blocks hooks you up with licensed shirts for all the stuff you love, because you need clothes. How else are you going to keep your puny human man flesh protected from the elements? T-shirts are useful for any occasion. Wear them, give them to friends, give them to enemies, knit them together, make a quilt. T-shirts are life. And you know the best part? It'll only cost you $6.99. That's right, you can get 12 shirts sent to you for once a month for only $6.99. And you know what? If ultra cheap licensed goods are too basic for you, then there's also the Community T-Block set, which features original designs from the best up-and-coming artists, so you can keep that hipster street cred. But I'm here to save you even more money! Use the code LOBSTERTBX at checkout, and you'll save 10% on any order. Be a t-shirt wearing god amongst mortals. Use the power of the most expensive seafood to get you the cheapest t-shirts now!